The T20 World Cup 2022 may be over, but the post-mortem continues. But up until now, you were listening to thoughts maybe of former cricketers, journalists, analysts, YouTubers, and what have you. But it's very interesting and really insightful if you get to hear from someone who was part of that tournament, someone who was participating in that tournament, and this time it happens to be the Indian off-spinner in Ravichandran Ashwin. Now, Ravichandran Ashwin, as you all know, runs a YouTube channel, and I know there are contrasting thoughts about that. Some people feel that, it's great to listen to him because he's a fine reader of the game, a great thinker, whilst you also have a lot of other people that believe that should an active cricketer be also analyzing the sport, analyzing himself, his team, his fellow players? So different thoughts. You ask me personally, I love it, and I think it's great for any fan. I consider myself as a fan, a lover of the game. For me to get insight of what the team members, what the player exactly were thinking while the tournament was on. And sometimes those thoughts don't come across in press conferences, and they come across in private videos, as Ravichandran Ashwin often does on his YouTube channel. Three very interesting things that he points out when he does that video after the T20 World Cup, and we're going to look into that. Some of them are in fact, news to us, breaking news some people might consider, of things that he points out. First bit that he says, 2024, the T20 World Cup is in the US, and our next gen will definitely be ready for it. Now, you don't even need to read between the lines. What he's trying to tell you is that for the next World Cup, that's 2024, you're going to have a young team. And why is that important? Because right now the jury is out whether, some of these seniors will continue being part of that team. Some of them have been performing very well as well. Do they continue, or will you have a new generation of next gen cricketers going ahead for that 2024? He says it as a matter of fact in his video. What that tells you is it's not just Ravichandran Ashwin's opinion, but this is something that probably the team or the management or the BCCI, all of them put together, have already had a conversation about. That conversation may not have happened after the T20 World Cup, could have happened even before it, irrespective of how India performs. But it's pretty clear in what he says here that the next World Cup, the T20 World Cup in 2024, what Ravichandran Ashwin is telling you is that the next gen will definitely be ready for it, which means be ready to see a fresh group of youngsters playing in that World Cup. You will not see a lot of familiar faces. He goes on to say the preparation for that has already begun during this New Zealand series. So that gives you an idea who that next gen is. Again, remember, this is not an opinion or a personal opinion that Ravichandran Ashwin is saying. This is effectively the roadmap that the Indian team is on. He's giving you insights about that. As we had been reporting earlier as well, that certain conversations had happened between the BCCI management and a few senior players even before this World Cup had started. Some of them were not in great forms. So the conversation that was had was that, listen, some of you are established, well-known players, and BCCI has confidence in you, the team has confidence in you, and you will be part of this T20 World Cup irrespective of the form that you're showing before the tournament starts. However, this may be your last World Cup, and we want to set another roadmap for this Indian team. We need to look at youngsters because the next T20 World Cup is 2 years away. So even if India had won this T20 World Cup, you would have seen a few major changes. That is probably a conversation or an idea or a thought that Ravichandran Ashwin may have been privy to, considering he's part of that inner circle. So it's no more outside noise, it's the inside noise of people who are part of that setup. So what you learn from this is next gen group of youngsters that will go. Whether one or two senior players still be part of that T20 team, we wouldn't know for now, but it's safe to assume when you say next gen, it's going to be pretty much the team that you see in New Zealand, because he gives you a hint as well. So pretty much the faces that you are seeing right now in New Zealand, you'll also have to give them time to either succeed or fail, whichever way you look at it, and then take a call. So few names might come in and go, but it is end of the road for a lot of seniors in T20 eyes. Who those seniors are, I don't really have to spell that out. If you've been watching enough T20 cricket, you'd know. And as I said, performance may not be a criteria, age might be, and if you're a certain age group, and even if you've had a great T20 World Cup, the team may look at a young team going forward in 2024. So interesting insight that Ravichandran Ashwin offers in his video. Okay, I'm going to turn into the next one. What is the other thing that's very interesting? He says, England is showing how white ball cricket is played. They have rebranded T20 cricket where they go bang bang from the word go. Now this is really surprising. It is surprising because Ravichandran Ashwin says this after the T20 World Cup is over. But if you've been watching England cricket, you know that this rebranding did not happen now. And in his video, he elaborates how in 2015, where they did not make the semi-finals of the World Cup, they changed their approach under Owen Morgan. So when did the rebranding happen? In Ravichandran Ashwin's own admission, it happened after the 2015 World Cup. And this is, again, not a state secret. We've been all talking about it, that England is changing the way white ball cricket is played. So this is something the Indian team knew. The question worth asking for us, for you, or whoever is a follower of Indian cricket is that why this realization now? Why wake up so late? I mean, this was known to the... See, I mean, one thing could be that, okay, the Indian team had a different game plan. They believed in it. They followed it. They did not believe in England's game plan, and you followed your own game plan. It's okay if it didn't succeed. Everyone goes with a different mindset and a different game plan. In that case, what probably the statements would have come out is that, no, we didn't believe in the kind of cricket or white ball philosophy that England has. We believe in something else. We followed it. Sure enough, it did not pay dividends. That's understandable. But what this is telling you is that they knew that England had rebranded white ball cricket. They knew that the path that England has taken is the path to success. All of this was known to the Indian team. Again, as I say, this is now statements that are coming from within the Indian team. And if Ravichandran Ashwin, a senior member, says that, clearly this is something that the entire team felt. If the team knew that this was the path to take to success, or as they knew from 2015, England had rebranded cricket, then the surprising bit is, why did the Indian team not follow up on that? What's the point? Why wake up so early and now? Of course, you need to praise the English team, but you knew that. Why is it that this approach wasn't followed? Despite the fact that we heard the right noises before the World Cup started, whether it was from the coach, the captain, everyone said the same thing. So everyone realized that this was the way to go. Well, then why did the team not follow this up? That is a really surprising question, and I think it's a worth question for every stakeholder of Indian cricket to ask. Out of all the players, the management, all players, whether it is Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, Ravichandran Ashwin, anyone who was part of the team, this has to be asked. That if you knew England is following the right template, why was that not followed? He goes on to give an example, saying chasing just 140 versus Sri Lanka, they still scored 60-70 runs in the first 6 overs. That means that England stayed true to their approach. Yes, it was a low scoring game. Yes, they won at the last moment. It became a tough chase, but what really helped them was the 60-70 odd that they got in the power play despite chasing a low total. So that approach, this going bang bang from the word go, he uses a few Tamil expressions while explaining that. I have just translated it into English, but what he's trying to say is that this was the approach that England followed. Everyone now, you listening to him, you know that they knew that that's the right approach, and then you wonder why this approach is not something that the Indian team took. So again, very interesting insight coming from someone who was part of the team. And the third bit, he says, point to ponder. And this is what I love about Ravichandran Ashwin. I'll let you in on something. I was part of that press conference that he addressed in the game. I think it was before Zimbabwe at Melbourne. And every time I listen to him, I think he makes very valid points. And you know, when things like match up and all of that was asked, and he said, you know, these things are great, but at the moment, everyone is playing catch-up as far as T20 cricket is concerned. So he was asked about what outside analysts, former players are saying. And I think he made a very valid point, very interesting point, where he said that everyone is playing catch-up. Everyone who says things from the outside does so with some sort of assumption. Because not a lot of people know how T20 cricket is evolving. We are all behind the curve when it comes to that. And so what you need to do is be ahead of the curve. So that was food for thought. Those were great insights since I was part of that press conference. If you get your hands on it, don't forget to see it. If you want to know how T20 cricket is evolving, I think he makes few valid points. And he goes on to say, and I think this is a very interesting point he makes there, where he says, I feel we have a long way to go in understanding T20 cricket. Something he said in that in Melbourne ahead of the Zimbabwe game. He also says, let's start with the IPL itself. And he says, and see again, he's giving an example, and this is what I love about him. It's not just, talking in abstract. He's actually literally pointing out, like he did about England's approach. He gave you an example of how they chased 140. Similarly, he gives an example. We have orange and purple caps to reward the best bowler, the best batsman. And how are they based? Volume. So you take a look at the volume. It talks about volumes of run and volumes of wicket. So highest wicket taker, highest run getter, you reward him, irrespective of what match winning performances they may have, what impact on each match or particular phases of games he may have had, what his economy, what his strike rate for a batsman or a bowler was. None of that is taken into consideration. Yes, you and I can access it via various websites, but none of that is rewarded. And I think that is how you need to really take a fresh look at T20 cricket. It's not test cricket, where the highest run, doesn't matter how much time you've taken, maximum runs is maximum runs, even to an extent in one day cricket. But all of this has to be important. So if you've got 70 odd at a strike rate of 120, vis-a-vis getting 32 at a strike rate of 250, maybe that 32 is more important. So maybe we need to relook at that. Maybe all of us, that includes me as a journalist, or you as a fan, or players, former players who are commentators, whatever, all of us need to relook at how we look at T20 cricket, because the sport, the format is evolving faster than our thinking. So I think he makes a very interesting point there. But the other points that he talks about, and I think those are valid questions that need to be asked, but what I enjoyed the most about the video, it tells you what was the thought process behind the team, what is it that they were thinking, how is it that they view other teams at a given point, how is it that they view their own future. All of that you can find in that video. So thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, do give us a like, and don't forget to subscribe to Sports Today for more such analytical and newsworthy videos.